Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Bull Shark session. We have David Resch, the IDC staff instructor, with us today, along with our friend Heather Glahn, who you've seen in a previous post and video. So welcome to the both of you. David is a staff instructor, the IDC at Aquatic Adventures of Ohio, and we're happy to have David with us this morning. David, you want to just give us a little history on yourself, if you don't mind?
Well, professionally, I started off in education, spent 20 years in education, and then in 1994 went into real estate, became a broker, independent broker in 2000, and have been working on my own since 2000. And then from a diving standpoint, got started about 1975, early on, became an instructor around 76, been in the business ever since.
Right. Well, we are lucky, really lucky to have you on our team. And, I think there's probably been a lot of things that have changed since you started diving. 76, is that right?
That's correct.
You obviously went towards the path of instructor, and obviously you, with an educational background, you probably leaned that way from the beginning. What's changed, I guess in the time frame since you've been instructing to now? What have been some of the biggest changes in diving?
Well, some of the best changes occur in the equipment. Early on, there were no BCs. For sure, there were no weight integrated BCs. We'd use a horse collar that got started, manual inflate with weight belt. The closest thing to a BC was the Watergill AtPack at the time, and then came up with the stabilizer jacket, and then the evolution of the BCs and the weight integrated system to today, as well as the regulators, moving from the simple unbalanced regulators to the more complex regulators of today, more reliable. And probably the greatest evolution is in the computers. Early on, computers were not available. And so everything was done by the chart and tables. And now today, with computers, make it so much safer and easier, allowing more people to enjoy diving.
Yeah, it sounds like diving was really safe when you got started versus where it is today, right?
It was a little tougher. The way they described it was, and again, a tremendous evolution in the development of the equipment is primarily in the types of divers that now are able to dive. Early on, it would be males for the most part, young, in shape. Today, we've got young kids now getting into diving, as well as the old folks staying in. And people of all sizes and shapes and conditions are able to dive because of the equipment that's now available and the ease with which we can dive. The safety with the dive computer allows for so many more types of body styles to be able to dive safely.
Right.
Now, was it easy to obtain equipment when you first started, or was it pretty difficult? Because we didn't have Amazon, we didn't have online ordering. There may not have been a dive shop nearby, or was it mostly like build it yourself?
That was before me. When I got started, STI and Scuba Pro, they were all starting businesses. Equipment was available. Regulators were just getting started in terms of the balanced first and second stages, as well as then the swivel yokes, piston versus diaphragm regulators. Those are all coming on board.
So you've been in instructing for a long time, and you continue to do it. And you recently worked with Heather on achieving her dive master certification. So congrats to you both on that. What do you enjoy the most about instructing, and what keeps you doing it? I think you said it's been about 30 years, if I've got that right. Why do you keep doing it?
It keeps me active in the dive world. Two, there's tremendous enjoyment seeing the transition of somebody who has very limited water experience, sometimes afraid of the water, and with the evolution of the dive training that we implement, seeing them be able to become and enjoy, tremendous diving and the joy of the sport of diving.
And you, I've worked with you quite a few times, and I really appreciate the way that you introduce students to the sport. Are there any things that you think are essential for students to learn and be learning, maybe during their first open water course as a new student coming into the sport?
Well, from a skill standpoint, it's focusing in on buoyancy control, honing the skill of neutral buoyancy in that hover position, tied in with finning. And of course, that relates directly to weighting, proper weighting and trim. The next is trying to scale down the excitement of diving and the thrill of going deeper, longer, colder. I try to emphasize mastering the basic skills in the comfort of warmer waters and relatively shallow waters, and then moving on to the more complex skills in the diving world. One of my favorite phrases is, if you can't do something in 6 feet of water, you can't do it in 100 feet. So I'm trying to help them focus on maintaining and developing their skills, and then moving on to the advanced specialties.
And it's certainly not a race, is it?
No. And you've heard me say it before. Put qualification over certification. I encourage divers to be skilled in all aspects of the diving, just not a collector of specialty cards.
Yeah, I think that's great feedback, and I think that I think you and I have had this discussion before. When I took my open water course, if somebody would have taught me more about buoyancy during that class and really been focused on how to control it, I think my confidence and enjoyment of the sport would have started much earlier. And I think my development as a diver would have started much earlier with a solid foundation. And I think that you do a great job of focusing on that. And obviously, I don't have the number of divers that you've instructed or completed certifications for, but I know it's a lot, and I know that you're dedicated to the process and challenge them in a way that makes them a better diver, for sure. And I know that during your own diving, as you've developed as a diver, you've taken some technical classes and courses. Is there anything that you've done kind of on the technical side that you really enjoyed, and maybe why did you pursue that?
Oh, probably the best would be moving to the transition of diving, trimix, only from a standpoint that it created a much safer environment for me. The tough part is today, as I'm nearing the end of my career, some of that deeper stuff has to be postponed. But early on, tremendous training so that I have the skill and the knowledge to be able to pass that on to the new divers coming up and to guide them into the direction moving out of recreational diving into the technical dive world. I can still do all the skills.
Yeah,
I just can't do all the diving.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, people that, some of your dive heroes and people that you look up to in the sport have spent a tremendous time practicing the craft, right? And practicing everything from a mask removal to how they clip their D-rings to where they position their gear. I think all of that stuff takes a tremendous amount of practice and repetitive motion to build the skills to be confident to do that. I think that's something that a lot of people either don't experience or don't get to see about, in the sport itself. And I know, Heather, you've done a lot of colder water diving, and I'm sure that you have appreciated David's approach to teaching and and how to handle students during your time with them.
Absolutely. And I learned so much under David and took that. And even on my field work to the far reaches, I mean, I was looking at different things and trying to tighten up small little skills. And so the approach that you're never perfect, there's always something to work on is a good mindset to have in terms of diving.
What's your some of your favorite dive sites, David? You've dove in a lot of places.
Well, locally, Gilboa would be the favorite. It has all the aspects of diving that we need. You know, early entry, easy diving, a little more advanced, and then all the way to the technical side of things. Well set up. Mike does a nice job of keeping the place up. I've said it a couple of times that if you can learn to dive in Gilboa, you can dive anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think that holds true to about 99% of diving. And then traveling, Palau is a nice spot, the Caymans, Honduras, just about every place I've been, tremendous diving.
What's next on your list, or what's at the top of your bucket list, I should say?
From a
For
travel
diving.
standpoint?
Yeah.
Well, from a diving standpoint, it's continuing on with the project that Heather, Todd, and I are working on and documenting the confined water class, step-by-step instruction. That's my main goal of the current time. Trying to get that documented, get all the way through all 4 sessions of confined water in a step-by-step fashion, so that new divers and new dive instructors and dive masters have a little better sense of how to do something in a way that works.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those. I think you guys have done a great job, and I'm sure people are going to love it when you can share that. And I think you're right. It's a great tool for not only the student, but for the dive professional that is learning the skills to be a great dive master and go on to instructor. Certainly, I think the quality of the footage and the ease in which it's demonstrated is easy to digest and something that everybody will learn something from and take away from.
Yeah, I think David found his next calling as a director.
David, we really appreciate you being on the staff, and you've really touched a lot of divers. Not only with your instruction, but I'll just say it. I think you're a great listener, and you really encourage people to do their best work. And I know it's something that I appreciate. I know it's something that the staff at Aquatic Adventures really appreciates, and I know. I was not a student of yours. However, I've talked to many, and I know that they share the same feeling. And, we just want to thank you for being a part of the team and for all the work that you do. I've got one last question for you. I've completed my open water course. I'm a newly certified diver, and what's the next class I should take for continuing education?
I recommend 3. Advanced buoyancy control would be 1. Navigation would be 2. Night limited viz would be 3. Mastering those specialties and the skills associated with it just completely opens up the dive world for the new diver.
Right.
And then moving on to the more complex and complicated dives.
That's great. And
you get lost at 80 feet, you're in trouble. You get lost in 5 feet, it's not so bad.
Right. Yeah. If you get lost, period, it's unsettling, and thus creates anxiety, which is never a good thing to have on a dive. And I would agree with you 100%. I think those skills and mastering those skills certainly gives you confidence and makes ongoing education easier, especially in open water and pool sessions. And David, we really appreciate it. And there's anything that we can do for you, please let us know. And we appreciate Heather being a part of these conversations as well. They're a lot of fun.
Well, just get the shop open,
yeah,
get the pool
yeah,
open.
right. Well,
Let us get back in the water.
Well, let's talk about that for 1 second. So we started these sessions. Obviously, we're all at home, and what a fine time now to connect with people. And this seems to be a good platform to do that. And we hope to get back very soon. For those of you guys keeping up with the shop, we have emptied the pools, both the dive tank and the lap pool. Lanes on the lap or on the swim pool have been repainted, along with targets at the end of each lane, as well as the dive pool has been repainted as well. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that you guys are coming back to a clean facility that is in good shape, ready to go. And this will help us stay more active in August of this year when we typically do this work. So we're happy to do it. We certainly want everybody back in the water soon. We miss everybody in the shop, and we are and will get back to it very soon.
Brian, thank you. And Heather, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Sharing your time and talent, your acting skills
You
in
know.
the videos. Oh, yeah, you should have episode 5 to
Yes.
review.
Yes. I'm going to take a look at it right after this.
And that's it.
Right.
We've got to get some more.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, well,
we look
thanks.
forward to sharing those.
Definitely.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing him. Guys, have a great day, and thanks for a great session. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Heather.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Good diving.